Howdy folks, and it's Brian with Foxfire Armory again. And today we are out in the garage because we are going to be putting together a hobo stove. And many of you have probably seen other videos out there, which is using one of these guys and a roll of toilet paper. Well, today I'm going to be showing you how to take some of this. And this is a project that I've been kind of wanting to do for a while now. This is dryer lint, and I'm all for reuse, recycle whenever you can, with whatever you can. So today we're gonna be going through that, and I'm gonna show you two types of fuels here. The first one is denatured alcohol, and this is actually specific for alcohol burning stoves. So any stove that you would buy, whether it's like a Coleman or I'm trying to think of some other brands that actually do the alcohol style. Can't think off the top of my head. I'll have to look some of those up. If anyone knows, definitely put them in the comments, because those are always a good thing to have knowledge of which stoves out there actually do that. But so the denatured alcohol is what we're going to use for the hobo stove. It's a clean, semi-smokeless burning fuel specifically for this purpose. The other fuel source is going to be your Coleman here, and this is your basic Coleman stove, Coleman lantern premium fuel blend. So for this purpose today we're going to be using this guy. So let's go on and let's get into actually putting together the stove. Alright, so here we go. So first thing first, you're gonna need one of these, and this is just your typical empty paint can from, I got this one from Lowe's. I think this was $4 or $5, and this was essentially $7. So for a total of $12, you can get yourself a pretty nice stove, in my opinion. And then obviously I've been building up this little stockpile of lint here for a while, and it's just every time I clean the dryer out, put it in the bag and keep it there. So the first thing I like to do when I get the brand new one is I get one of these, which is a center punch, and these are extremely handy. And I personally like to actually put a few little holes around here just to allow airflow to kind of make its way through, and it helps to increase, I guess, the heat of the stove when it's burning. So here we go. So this is, you can hammer this or just give it a good push, and it will actually let's see if we can get a good view there. Just starts a little hole, and then I'm going to go around this whole thing. So I'm going to do this off camera, and then I'll actually make the hole a little bit larger with a drill bit, and then we'll come back and move on to step number 2. Alright, so I just thought I'd pop in real quick before I actually drill these through. Sorry, my throat is a little hoarse after a 3-day weekend camping. So I've made the holes started and basically just go end to end and kind of crisscross, try to make them as even as possible. And then that's going to give me a nice starting point to take this 5/32 drill bit, which actually fits perfectly in there to spin, and it's nice and tight. And then I'm just going to drill these out to get the nice hole. Alright, so now that that's done, you can kind of see what that's going to look like here. So that's all the holes drilled out. Now you will have some metal shavings, so I definitely recommend trying to clean it out before you actually go to put everything in there, just because otherwise, you know, these insides are going to be a little sharp. I actually still need to go through and kind of ream the inside just a little bit when you're putting this stuff in there and doing what you need to do. You obviously don't want to cut yourself with the metal. So I'm going to get that cleaned out real quick. Then we're actually going to move on to stuffing the dryer lint in there. Alrighty, so we're all cleaned out. It's time to start filling this. So I'm just going to take a handful, go ahead and shove it on in there. Now, the last time I did this, I just kind of shoved it in there and hand patted it down. This time I'm actually going to grab a piece of wood here, and I'm just going to kind of shove it down in there and kind of get the first layer to be as tight as possible. And basically the reason I'm gonna try this time is because last time a lot of this just burned off very, very quickly. And obviously, you want this thing to be able to kind of burn and be relit and burn and then fill it up with the alcohol to continually reuse it. And that's why you'll see a lot of people take these and they'll get a toilet paper roll and they'll just shove it in there. The next thing I might try actually too is getting a piece of metal and putting that dead center and then packing around that to use as a fill source, kind of like a Zippo. And potentially it could work as having like a center flame. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe we'll try that here sometime, but you can grab whatever you want. I'm just using this piece of wood. It's what I had handy. So we'll get that first layer in. Give it a nice little mat down here. Grab another little handful. Now, I will say, the one thing with doing this is it does get a little dusty. So you may want to wear a mask. It's up to you. I'm not, just because I'm trying to stay away from it as much as possible to keep myself out of frame anyway. So we'll kind of just keep grabbing. And if you find any weird stuff, like I got a little clump of hair here, I'm assuming this is a feather from a pillow, just try to take some of that stuff out. Obviously you don't want to be burning hair and whatever other junk can end up in your lint trap. And obviously once I pour some alcohol in here, I'm going to compact this a little bit more because it'll actually get a little bit thicker once it gets wet, but just to get this initial going here. And I like to use the rule of thumb of 2/3 before I start filling with anything. So kind of something along those lines. Obviously this is just kind of an eyeball thing. So from there, I got my screwdriver here. Just gonna pop that guy open. And actually, I'm gonna grab a funnel real quick. Alrighty, so got my funnel. And now we're gonna go ahead and pour in. Obviously, I'm gonna try not to spill as much as possible. And that's kind of what the funnel's here for. So I'm just gonna kind of get a little bit going. And then I'm gonna go ahead, shake that off a little bit. And then now, like I said, I'm actually gonna start to mush this down a little bit. And see if we can actually start adding. Gonna get the hair out of there. And now you'll see, as it starts soaking up, we're actually getting down there. So now I'm gonna add a little bit more. And then same thing, just gonna kind of get in here, mush it around a bit. And here we go. Whoop. So you can see we're about halfway now from that 2/3 mark. So this is still fairly dry, just to let you know. So I'm gonna keep adding. I'm actually gonna add a little bit more fuel to this, and then once it gets to kind of a good consistency here where it's pretty much wet, we're gonna add a little bit more on top and then repeat the process over again. And while I have a nice little chunk here to kind of show you what you get, basically it's very reminiscent of a Zippo. So obviously not the same stuff, but very similar as far as function is concerned. So now we're gonna go ahead, gonna add a little bit more of the dry in there. Sorry about my neighbor's horn, if you heard that. We're gonna kind of pat that down, let it get connected. And gonna add some more fuel now. All right. We're going to mat that down again so we can get the stuff soaking up the fuel. Add a little bit more in there, and you'll notice this takes quite a bit. This can actually take quite a bit of the lint as you fill it in and mush it down. So this should be a pretty solid stove once it's done here. Whoop, and I just spilled a little bit. Get in here. Now we're getting to the point to where the liquid is actually starting to squirt out. So getting pretty much to that kind of sweet spot. And another reason for having the holes up there is, like I said, I spilled a little bit, it can drain back in, and I don't need to worry about it sitting on top. Alrighty, so there you go. That's what it looks like. And we got our handy dandy fire starter here. And so I'm just gonna put this down, and if everything went well, I should be able to get my hand just slightly in there, get a nice little thing going. And you can kind of hopefully see it. It's a pretty good flame coming off of this. So you'll notice, can give it a couple blows. This thing is pretty much windproof. So the way we're going to put it out is we're just going to hit that guy. I'm going to give it a little tap. Let that sit for a little bit, and that should put our stove out. But as you can see, having those little air vents really helps to allow the wind and whatever air kind of move around there, and it will help pump up that flame and also keep the stove going if you were in a windy situation. So that is very, very hot now. So I'm gonna grab some needle nose pliers just so I can take it off for you. And what's nice about this is actually down here, it's not hot at all. Up here, very hot. But actually down where the fuel is, I can grab this thing and I could just carry it away once I've kind of smacked the top on. So, very convenient, very easy to make. Not the best smelling thing when it's burning, but it works. You can throw this in your car, keep it with you. You can have it at your house in case you need it. Throw it in a backpack if you're doing some backpack camping. But like I said, I still have, I don't know, quite a bit. Probably enough for half of a stove. So I'll just keep filling that back up and get another one of these. And for another, I think $5 for this guy, I can basically have a whole nother stove, because the amount of fuel I still have left in here is pretty much half of this, which will do me a whole nother stove. So there it is, the Hobo Stove with a little bit of reuse, recycle as far as your dryer lint is concerned. And you will get some charring on the top, obviously, that's to be expected. And then once you've kind of run out of fuel, you refill it with the fuel and you're good to go. So hope you enjoyed the content. Till next time, if you liked the video, please like, share, subscribe. Every little bit helps. And thanks again. So quickly, just something I forgot to mention while I was out there making the hobo stove. The other nice thing about putting those holes around the edge is what you can do is you can actually create a, what do you call them, the grates that you could actually cook, like the cook grate, and you can use the holes then to as pinpoints to stick the grate on top if you wanted to put like a small pot on top of there, kind of similar to a rocket stove or like one of the MSR personal camp stoves. So just wanted to throw that out there. A lot of versatile uses for the hobo stoves. So thanks again. Hope you enjoyed the content.